What's up, Richard? Timmers here. Now, with the Oscars around the corner next week, actually, still weird that the Oscars is premiering late. But anyway, uh, I'm from now to now, I'm gonna actually do my ranking of the Best Picture winners of each decade. From the 2010s, Best Picture winners, 90s, 80s, etc. Now, maybe after the Oscars is done, I'll probably do the 2020s, but there's not really much to go by. I'll say that one, but the 2010s had some really decent Best Picture winners and all. So here are my 2010s Best Picture ranking. All right, number 10, I'm going with The Artist. Now I thought The Artist was okay, and obviously this was like the silent film, where a silent film start in the 1920s Hollywood sees his career collapse as talking pictures become like the new standard here. And of course, you got the likes of John Dujardin, who of course won Best Actor. This movie won loads of awards. Of course, it won Best Actor, Best Director, got nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and many others. Now, I thought The Artist was okay. I mean, you also do got the likes of John Goodman, James Cromwell, and all. Now, The Artist, of course, the Best Picture. Now, The Artist in technically 2012, but of course, The Artist be at the likes of The Descendants, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, The Tree of Life, and War Horse. Me personally, I would have given it to The Descendants. Not to be confused with Disney's The Descendant. Descendants, totally different film. The George Clooney, Judy Greer, Shane Lee Willie film, directed by Alexander Payne. Really good little film. That I really think that should have won Best Picture instead, but that's just me. But so The Artist was pretty decent. I mean, the cinematography was pretty good. Good performances throughout. Not a bad film, to say at least. Again, I feel like they mostly just gave it to because it was like a love letter to Hollywood and stuff like that. Which, hey, cool there. But to me, I still think The Descendants was the better film that year. But that's just me. All right. Coming in at number 9 is Parasite. Now, of course, Parasite was the first like Korean movie to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Is of course directed by Bong Joon Ho, who who actually won Best Director. Where a poor South Korean family gradually infiltrates the life of a wealthy household by posing as highly qualified workers here. And I thought the movie was pretty decent. As for the what it beat out, it beat out the likes of you know Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Woman, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Me personally, I would have given it to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. To me, that was actually the better film that year. But Parasite was okay. I mean, I thought good performance here. Bong Joon Ho did a really good job, but again, I would have given it to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But that's just me. All right, number 8 is A King's Speech. Of course, directed by Tom Hooper, which is still such a shame that the movie Cats messed up his directing career, but that is what it is, I guess. Now, of course, Cats stars Cats. The King's Speech, is about Prince Albert, who later becomes King George of Britain, who struggles with stuttering here, and of course, Colin Firth actually won his first Oscar for this. Me personally, I don't know, probably would have given it to Jesse Eisenberg that year, but that's just me. But still, Colin Firth was still pretty decent. Of course, Jeffrey Rush, Helen Bonham Carter was also good. They got a couple of Oscar wins. Now, as for the film itself, it actually, got nominated alongside the like. It actually won against Black. It, of course, be at the likes of Black Swan, The Fighter, Inception, The Kids Are Alright, 127 Hours, The Social Network, Toy Story 3, True Grit, and Where's Boat. Me personally, I would have given it to The Social Network. I thought The Social Network was the better from that year. But The King's Speech was still pretty decent. Good performances by Colin Firth. Jeffrey Rush was pretty decent. So, again, me, I would have given it to The Social Network, but I had no complaints with The King's Speech winning. All right, number 7 is A Shape of Water. Now, The Shape of Water, of course, was directed by Guillermo del Toro, who, of course, actually won his first Oscar for this. And of course, beat out the likes of Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, and Three Billboards. Me personally, I would give it to Three Billboards, but still. Of course, this is the film set during the Cold War, where a mute janitor, working as a secret government laboratory, forms like a unique bond with this, creature played by Doug Jones. Of course, Sally Hawkins got an Oscar nomination for this. Octavia Spencer got one. I think Richard Jenkins also got one too, if I'm not mistaken. Some really good performances here. Really cool effects. Well deserved for Del Toro winning his first Oscar and stuff. Really good film there. All right, number 6 is 12 Years a Slave. Now, this is a pretty decent film, but 12 Years a Slave actually beat out the likes of American Hustle, Captain Phillips, Dallas Buyers Club, Gravity, Her, Nebraska, Philomena, and Wolf of Wall Street. I would have given it to Wolf of Wall Street, but that's just me. Frankly, Leo DiCaprio should have won his first Oscar for Wolf of Wall Street, but at least he got one for The Revenant, so that's that. But still, 12 Years a Slave is still pretty decent. It is based on the true memoir of Solomon Northam, who's a free black man from New York who is kidnapped and sold into slavery in the 1840s. Lupita Nyong'o actually won her first Oscar for this. This was actually her first film, and she actually won her first ever Oscar, which I thought that was pretty cool. Of course, she was at Edge for Michael Fassbender, Benedict Cumberbatch, Brad Pitt, Paul Dano. It's still a really decent film, really good performances throughout. Not a bad win, but again, I would have given it to Wolf of Wall Street because, to be honest, that was a better film that year, but that's just me there. All right. Number 5 is Spotlight. Now, Spotlight actually beat out the likes of The Big Short, Bridge of Spies, Brooklyn, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, The Revenant, and Room. Me personally, I would have given it to either The Big Short or Room, but Spotlight was still a pretty decent film, to say the least. This was directed by Tom McCarthy, where investigative journalists team at a Boston Globe uncovers a massive scandal involving child abuse. And you got like Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Liam Schreiber, some really good cast lists throughout. Really intense movie at times here. A really decent journalist film. Definitely felt like a modern, like the President's Man of the 2010s in a way. It is a really decent film. If you guys have seen that. All right, number 4 is Moonlight. Oh boy, this was of course the movie where like we thought La La Land was gonna win, but it turned out to be Moonlight. I mean, me personally, of course, Moonlight beat out the likes of La La Land, for a second, obviously. Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, Lion, and Manchester by the Sea. Me personally, I still really wish La La Land won, but that's just me. Moonlight was actually still a pretty decent one. Of course, it tells in 3 chapters of his life where like a young black man named Sharon grows up in like a rough Miami neighborhood, grappling with identity, masculinity, and search of connection here. Of course, Mahershala Ali won his first Oscar for this. Well deserved there. Of course, Trevante Rose, Ashley Sanders, Naomi Harris, who actually also got an Oscar nomination for this. Janelle Monáe is really good in this one. It is a really decent, heartfelt story throughout. Good performances here. Again, I would have given it to La La Land, but I had no complaints with Moonlight winning because it was still a pretty good film. Really good cinematography, too. All right, number 3 is Green Book. This is going to be unpopular to say, but I think Green Book was a well-deserving Oscar win. I mean, let's see. What's it be out against? Green Book, of course, won over the likes of Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice. I probably would have given it to maybe Bohemian Rhapsody or maybe Black Klansman, but I still thought Green Book was a terrific film. Set in 1960s, where like an Italian American nightclub bouncer becomes a driver and bodyguard for a refined black classical pianist here. Of course, Mahershala Ali actually won his second Oscar for this. Of course, you got like Linda Cardellini, Viggo Mortensen. I really quite like the chemistry with Viggo and Mahershala Ali. It's really wonderful performances there. It is a really decent road trip movie as well. Really love the scenery here. really, this was actually in my top 10 favorite films of 2018. Of course, that was the year I actually started making YouTube videos there. So yeah, Green Book is a really good one there. All right, number 2 is Argo. Now, Argo, I actually thought was a well-deserving Oscar win. Of course, Argo did beat out the likes of Amora, Beast of No Silver Wild, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, Lincoln, Les Miserables, Silver Linings Playbook, and Zero Dark Thirty. This is actually one of the ones on this list I had no complaints winning. I thought it was a really good one. I mean, definitely one of the best films of that year. Of course, directed by Ben Affleck. One of the rare times where like a film won Best Picture without the TGA, without because of course Ben Affleck did not really get a DGA nomination, stuff like that. So that was actually one of the first times where like, oh no, I think he actually won. No, yeah, he did win the DGA, but he did not get a nomination for Best Director. That was one of the rare times where that actually happened, really, where someone actually wins the DGA without getting a Best Director nomination at the Oscars and stuff like that. So, yeah, but still, Argo was great. John Goodman, Alan Arkin, Scoot McNairy. Wonderful film if you guys haven't seen it. And the best Oscar winner of the 2010s is Birdman. Now, Birdman, of course, directed by Alejandro Inarritu, who of course won Best Director. He actually is one of the rare times where like a Mexican director won Best Director back to back. Because a year prior, he also won. I believe he also won for The Revenant a year prior too. Whether he wins for that new Tom Cruise movie, who knows? Now, Birdman, of course, beat out the likes of American Sniper, Boyhood, Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. I was sort of hoping for Boyhood to win because that was actually a pretty good one too. But hey, I had no complaint with Birdman because Birdman was terrific. Michael Keaton, who if it wasn't for Eddie Redmayne playing Stephen Hawkins that year, I still think Michael Keaton could have won. But that's just me. Anyway, yeah, Michael Keaton was still great here. Of course, playing a washed-up Hollywood actor, famous for playing a superhero character named Birdman. Attempts to reinvent himself as like a serious artist by staging a Broadway play here. And of course, Keaton got an Oscar nomination. Emma Stone, Naomi Watts, Ed Norton's great. It is a really good film. Wonderful performances. Well, of course, it was one of my favorite films of 2014. This and Boyhood, I thought was two of the best films that year. So, and of course, Whiplash. Like 2014 was a cool, solid year for films there. But anyway, that's pretty much it there. Here's my quick rundown. Number 10, The Artist. 9, Parasite. 8, The King's Speech. 7, The Shape of Water. 6, 12 Years a Slave. 5, Spotlight. 4, Moonlight. 3, Green Book. 2, Argo. And number 1 is Birdman. Let me let you guys. How would you rank the 2010's Best Picture Oscar winners? Which one you think was well deserving that year? What films you think should have won over the film that actually did win? Anyway, drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Timmy Simon.